I'm Mark. In today's project we're going to be building a couple of these decorative ornamental doors. Building these two for my daughter. They're just going to lean on either side of her fireplace. I'm not sure how she wants to finish them yet. We may just leave them raw. But let me get you back to when we started on it and I'll walk you through every step. Well, I picked out some cants that we're going to get all our lumber out of. I'll take it to the sawmill and try to get as much out of that as I can. And we'll get started on that. I got a few other projects I'm finishing up too. Well, you can see the sawmill stuff still cuts good, clean, accurate. I've got a bunch of these to make up. Well, I got all my lumber rough cut. Everything's roughly 5 inches by 1 7/8 inches. Next thing I got to do is figure out the length of the door. She bought these cast iron decorative pieces and I'm going to have to modify them a little bit. I'm going to have to cut these little ends off here, and then we'll put a groove in the wood for this to fit in on each end. The first thing we got to do is figure out the width based on these. So let's get over to the bandsaw and get these cut off. All right, got my piece fitted in. It measures outside to outside 23 3/4. So I want to put cut my end board that's going to go on top, and we'll biscuit it in there 24 inches. I want to leave about an 1/8 inch gap on either side just to, in case these differ, I want to have a little bit of room. So let's get our end boards cut. All right, I'm going to be using my radial arm saw. I put a stop in there at 2 feet. I got to cut 4 of them. On a radial arm saw, you pull it towards you when you're cutting. It seems backwards, but it keeps the ends from splintering. A little more tricky, but let's give it a... Alright, next I'm going to use a biscuit joiner. Basically cut 2 slots in each end. Those will glue in. And before I won't glue anything to the end. Then the metal will come up to about halfway, and I'm going to have to cut a 1/2 inch groove in here with a dado. So let's get the biscuit cutter and the dado set up. Alright, I got the groove dadoed out. I went with 4 biscuits on each side, and that will glue in, fit together, and clamp together. We're going to have to do the whole thing all at one time though, so we'll have to wait on that. Well, I got that joined together, not glued. Next we'll put this piece in the middle. I'll put a double stack of biscuits in here and we'll dado out that, and then this piece should be pretty much identical. Then we'll cut the end and put the end piece in. I got it all together. Fits good. One down, one to go. I'm not sure if she's going to want to stain it or paint it or what, and add some molding and stuff to it, but I'll get her over here and we'll figure all that out. Our next step, try to make the door more ornamental and give it some depth. I'm going to take a router and do a cove, a little 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch cove router that out, and then I'm going to add this crown molding piece. And I have a bunch of scrap pieces of molding. We kind of experimented around what's going to look good. Put another one there, then I'm going to put two of these backwards, back to back, kind of give this some depth. Cut that off there, it'll be trimmed out backwards. Instead of this side being this way, it'll be just the opposite. And I'll do some crown molding up at the top as well to try to give it some depth. Using a 1-inch brad nailer. I'm not going to fill the holes in. She wants it to look old, antique, kind of beat up. That seems to be the style nowadays. So I'm going to let her do the finishing on it. Well, that's the finished product. You can see the crown molding at the top. And the cove I cut with the router. How I bulked that up. Just flushed it on the sides. Kind of gives it some depth. And we're going to let it age. She wants it to look unfinished, aged naturally. And she's got a trick to do some vinegar and steel wool. We'll experiment with it and see. Well, I'll show you all the finished product sitting in her house. Thanks. Well, that's the finished product. We ended up staining it with a weathered oak, a Minwax number 270. This is my daughter's house, and she just moved in, so that's why it's echoing. Next, I got to build her a coffee table. Her couch will be delivered this week. We also made the mantle. It was out of an oak tree that was cut off of her property right here where the house sits. We also made her foyer console, and I've got to build her a formal dining room table down the road, and I also made her kitchen table in a past video. Well, I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see y'all on the next video.